A very good evening. It is Thursday, 11th of September 2025, and you're just in time for GBS News at 9, where every story carries a headline, every headline with a voice, and every voice carries a truth. I'm Ibrahim Said, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Alan Kiama. We have a lot lined up for you, and on to our first story. President William Ruto has unveiled a multi-billion shilling development plan for Kisii and Nyamira counties, pledging to work with all leaders to drive national transformation. Speaking at State House Nairobi, the president outlined investment in housing, healthcare and education and infrastructure, calling for unity and shift away from divisive politics. ODM leader Raila Odinga and Governor Simba Arati backed the agenda, signaling a new phase of cooperation in Gusii region.
President William Ruto has reaffirmed his commitment to inclusive development, announcing over 54 billion Kenya shillings in project for Kisii and Nyamira counties. Speaking at State House Nairobi, the president says 15,000 housing unit for modern market and student hostel worth 2.4 billion Kenya shillings will be built in Kisii. Nyamira will receive 7,000 housing unit, 3 markets and a similar hostel infrastructure with the total investment exceeding 16 billion Kenya shillings.
We are going to build 10,000 units in Kisii town. Architects, engineers, masons, carpenters, steel fixers, nini, watu ya mkono, electricians, everybody.
On healthcare, Ruto said the Social Health Authority has paid out 58 billion Kenya shillings in 10 months, more than double the annual payout under the defunct NHIF. He added that biometric systems are now in place at level 5 and 6 hospital to curb fraud. The government also plans to waive 6.5 billion Kenya shillings in coffee cooperation debt with the 2 billion budgeted this year.
Ile kitu iliangusha NHIF ni claims ya ukora. And that is why we have put a digital system. Today, admission is on a digital system. Discharge on a digital system. As we talk today, we have paid our hospitals about 58 billion. Na bado tuko na 2 months ndio ifike anniversary ya SHA.
Raila Odinga praised the affordable housing program, saying it will eliminate slum and create jobs. Governor Simba Arati pledged ODM support, saying leaders from the Gusii region will work with the national government to improve lives.
In the Constitution, it requires that the county government will work with the national government. There's no time. As just indicated earlier, my development allocation is only 1.9 billion. The president, courtesy of his office now, is giving us 1.9 billion for only Daraja Mbili, the stadium, the Nyambira market, and the Nyanchwa roads. Forget about the pipers.
The president said that 2,000 homes will be connected to electricity and 7.9 billion has been disbursed to clear pending road bills. Kisii Stadium will also be expanded at a cost of 500 million Kenya shillings. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Ibrahim Said.
Away from that, at Kenyatta National Hospital, doctors are racing against time to rebuild the face of 7-year-old Ian Baraka from Isiolo, who survived a bandit attack that left him with life-changing injuries. Specialists say the groundbreaking surgery will not only restore his ability to breathe, eat and speak, but also give him back his smile and chance at a normal childhood.
In Nairobi, a 7-year-old boy from Isiolo is getting a second chance at life thanks to a groundbreaking surgery at Kenyatta National Hospital. Young Ian Baraka survived a brutal bandit attack that left him with devastating facial injuries, robbing him of the ability to breathe, eat, and even speak. At the Kenyatta National Hospital, a world-class team of specialists has come together using advanced techniques, including 3D printing and titanium alloy implants. The team is carrying out staged facial reconstruction designed to restore both function and natural growth.
He came while he was intubated still. That means they still had a tube going to his chest to assist him in breathing. He was immediately taken to intensive care where he stayed there for about 3 weeks. He was missing a huge portion of his midface. The upper jaw was completely taken off, at least the anterior portion.
We used, as we said, a multidisciplinary team approach, but also technology. So 3D printing has been done. These are 3D printed. These are 3D printed also models, just to ensure that we have specific implants to be able to fit him precisely, allow for growth, and allow that he shall have some teeth and he shall be able to have a nose.
Ian has already undergone soft tissue repair. His first major reconstructive procedure is set for September 25th. The hospital says this case proves that Kenyans do not need to travel abroad for cutting-edge care.
The donor in Europe wanted the boy to be taken to Europe, but the doctors here said, no, we want to do it here. Because if it is research, if it is ownership, we do it here. It's homemade, home problem, home solutions. And this is what I want us to be challenging ourselves as Kenyans, that we only will be the ones to build this nation.
KNH Board Chair Dr. Abbas Gulait urged Kenyans to support Ian's journey, just like well-wishers who have already raised more than 700,000 shillings to fund his surgeries. For Ian, the road to recovery is long, but with expertise and community support, his life and his smile are being rebuilt one step at a time. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi.
Kenya has secured a landmark partnership in the United States aimed at expanding agricultural export, unlocking farmers' financing and strengthening research collaboration. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe concluded a successful trade mission that saw agreement with the U.S. African Trade Desk, MasterCard and American universities, positioning Kenya as a strong player in global food markets.
Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has concluded a successful trade and investment mission to the United States, securing deals that will expand Kenya's agricultural exports and boost farmer financing. The visit was an engagement with the United States Africa Trade Desk, which committed to open U.S. retail markets for Kenyan produce while providing financing support to sustain export volumes and strengthen supply chains.
At the closest possible space, because the Kenyan farmer for a long time has been having a price problem. And the price problem is because there are too many people between the eventual landing, the last mile and the first mile and the last mile, so to speak. There are too many people. So for us, there are several ways that we have been discussing and debating how to deal with this challenge. One of them is the online selling platform, all right, where we were supposed to launch it, as a matter of fact, this week here in the U.S., where we opened the purchase and the selling of coffee online. Okay. So that a roaster here in the United States can be able to buy directly.
In New York, the CS also held talks with a MasterCard Executive Vice President, Tara Nathan, on a plan to register farmers as businesses and enhance their access to credit. The partnership will explore establishing a centralized agriculture information and resource center to consolidate farmer data, promote transparency.
Some of the products, some of the people we are talking to, and the people who have come to us to express an interest, perhaps are not aware of what you can do for them. Yeah. So I think we need on our part to point them out to you and say, have you been to these offices to check out what support you can get? So there is tea, there is coffee, a great interest in coffee as well. We just had a session just now. The last meeting we had before we came here was on coffee. The idea is to bring down the price of feeds. That's why you're importing in the first place. It doesn't make any sense then to buy very expensive feeds, which then cancels out whatever you are to get. That's a key, it's a key consideration, and I think something that needs to be done.
And that's all the way right down to, are we compliant in terms of the packaging laws and regulations for a product that is going into California? Is it FDA compliant? What is the ingredients? The size of the lettering on the packaging, is it the right size? To ensure that there is no rejection or anything along that line of the product when it arrives. Our route to market for your products here is 3 channels. We've got the omni-channel, we've got our retail partners, and then we've obviously got our food service. And this loop flows into our reporting and compliance tool, which is our ERP and CRM system called Acumatica.
The mission further yielded new academic and business linkages, including a collaboration with South Carolina State University to boost training and research in crop resilience, as well as a memorandum of understanding between the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the South Carolina African-American Chamber of Commerce. Kagwe was accompanied by a high-level private sector delegation, underscoring Kenya's readiness to seize opportunities in the U.S. market. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Paul M. Minor.
Now, in a developing story, the Siaya County government has denied claims that it is ejecting the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology from the Agricultural Training Center land in Siaya town, terming the report as misleading and politically motivated. Here are the details.
During a press conference at the county headquarters, County Secretary Joseph Ogutu and Lance County Executive Committee member Maurice Otieno dismissed assertions that the university's Siaya town campus was facing eviction. They accused some leaders of spreading rumors to score cheap political points at the expense of students and the county's education sector.
The county government of Siaya has taken note of allegations made to the public suggesting that Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology, JUST, is being ejected from the Agricultural Training Center, ATC, grounds in Siaya. These allegations are misleading and not based on facts.
Maurice Otieno clarified that although the memorandum of understanding signed with JUST in 2019 had already expired, a joint 16-member committee from both the university and county government had already been formed to work on its renewal. He further disclosed that discussions with stakeholders were ongoing to relocate Siaya prison, a move aimed at creating more space for the university's expansion within the municipality.
On the MOU with JUST, the county government of Siaya signed a memorandum of understanding with JUST on 6th February 2019. This MOU expired and is currently under review with the intention of renewal, subject to the terms mutually agreed upon by both parties. It is important to emphasize that there has never been any consideration of ejecting JUST or its students from the ATC land in Siaya. To guide the review and renewal process of the MOU, a joint committee was constituted comprising members from the JUST and the county government of Siaya. This committee is tasked with consulting widely and ensuring that the renewed MOU reflects the shared vision for the future of higher education in Siaya.
The controversy was sparked last week when Alego Songa MP Samuel Atandi accused the county government of denying JUST land and pushing the institution towards closure. Atandi claimed the county intended to use the ATC land for a new headquarters, allegations that the county has now strongly refuted. The MP's remarks triggered mixed reactions, with some residents supporting his concerns, while others dismissed the claims as political propaganda.
You know, Jaramogi Oginga University has a satellite campus at the Siaya Farmers Institute in Siaya. That satellite campus has about 1,200 students. I recently received a communication from the Vice Chancellor of Jaramogi Oginga University that they intend to close that satellite campus. Reason being that the land the satellite is sitting on belongs to the county government of Siaya. And the county government of Siaya has another program for that land. They want to build a new county headquarters in that land.
The county government has assured residents that Jews will not be evicted and pledged continued dialogue to safeguard the institution's presence in Siaya town. Leaders say the joint committee will provide lasting solutions to land and expansion challenges, ensuring that the university remains a vital pillar of education and economic growth in the region. Molin Rono for GBS News.
And after that report from our very own Molin Rono, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Confidence and body image. Confidence and body image is what we'll be talking about today. So I've always been told I'm too short to model. Does height really matter, or is confidence enough?
No, height. In the world we are in today, height does not matter.
It doesn't.
When it comes to modeling. Actually, leave alone height, even body size doesn't matter.
Even body size?
Yes. Modeling is it's an open space to express yourself. Modeling is visual representation of a brand of who you are. So it's about you showing up and showing your authentic self. Just that. In the industry, I have experienced, met very short people, men and ladies, and they do amazing. They're really good. It's all about, I think, believing in yourself, that confidence, and knowing you can do it and you need to do it.
Walk an imaginary runway across the room, but do it like you're wearing 10-inch heels and atuna heel. So yeah, pretend do it like you're wearing a 10-inch heel. Haibo. Twende kazi. Haya, makofi kwake.
Hello, my name is Nyabio. I'm from Mahanim. I call this school a good school because the second my mom saw it, she saw it was Christian-based. And when I see Christian-based, that's what the character my mother wants from me. And I like the sports that we play for PE. Like sometimes we play table tennis, we can play football, we match, and on Fridays we have games. And we verse the teachers in football. And this is why I think the school is the best school your children can go to.
But what is the problem? The problem people don't want to hear the voice of Jesus, and they don't want to live through the voice of Jesus. But most of the time, people are living their life of struggling. The people who died before receiving Jesus Christ, the people who died in sin, those people, they will go to the judgment, they will go to the fire, and those people will say that they are dead because they will face the second death, which is the hellfire. People without knowing this, people think that, no, I should do something. No, I need to do something. Why? Because they don't know exact heart of God. They don't know exact will of God. And through this, God allowed His goodness. God allowed the problems in our life. And when God allowed this goodness leads us to
everywhere. GBS.
Welcome back and thank you for keeping it locked here at GBS News at 9. Now, flash floods triggered by heavy rains in Morocco have washed away crops and destroyed part of the road network, leaving farmers and travelers stranded. The disaster reported in country's southern province today has raised fear of food shortage and transport disruption as authorities move in to assess the extent of the damage. Here is more on the story.
According to local officials, acres of farmland were submerged, with maize, vegetables, and fruit plantations swept away within hours. Several local roads, including key-links between villages and market centers, were cut off after bridges collapsed under the force of floods. Residents describe the floods as some of the worst in recent years, saying the sudden downpour left them with little time to salvage their crops or belongings.
On Sunday and Monday, there were thunderstorms. Now we're taking the necessary measures and precautions. We are preparing the equipment from the administration.
Morocco has experienced an increase in extreme weather patterns in the recent years, alternating between prolonged droughts and sudden flash floods. Experts have warned that climate change is worsening rainfall variability in North Africa, leaving communities vulnerable. Previous floods in 2023 caused widespread damage to homes and infrastructure, with reconstructions taking months. Authorities have launched emergency response efforts, deploying rescue teams to reopen blocked roads and deliver relief to affected families. The Agriculture Ministry has promised to support families through recovery programs, while meteorologists caution that more rainfall could worsen the situation in the coming days. Officials say restoring transport links and safeguarding food security remain the government's top priority. Molin Rono for GBS News.
Away from that, in Haiti, thousands of families remain displaced months after fleeing violence in the capital, Port-au-Prince. UN Emergency Relief Coordinator Tom Fletcher has been on the ground meeting survivors, assessing conditions and calling for stronger international support. Susan Nganga brings us that report.
In Port-au-Prince, Haiti, nearly 5,000 people, many of them children, remain displaced after fleeing a wave of violence earlier this year. UN Emergency Relief Coordinator Tom Fletcher visited the MTPTC displacement site, where families spoke of daily struggle to survive. Residents like Rudy John say they simply want to live a normal life again. Others, like Ashmina John Michael, recall losing everything in sudden burst of gunfire, forced to run with only their children. At 5 a.m. there was a lot of shooting. I lost everything, my belongings, my business, but the safety of my children was my absolute priority. I had no choice but to get them and run immediately. Conditions here are dire. Overcrowding, food shortages, and lack of basic services are pushing families to breaking point. The site's manager warned that resources are stretched far beyond capacity. Fletcher listened to the frustrations of those displaced, saying people are desperate for dignity, for education, for healthcare, and above all, for hope.
dignity. They're desperate to live their lives like anyone else. And they've been displaced multiple times. You know, many of the families here displaced at least 2 or 3 times by violence. They don't want to be here. They want to rebuild their lives. They want education for their kids. They want to get the health care they need. They want clean water. And they want hope. Ultimately, they want hope, and that's what they're missing at the moment.
The emergency relief coordinator expressed outrage at the international community's slow response, calling the current supports not enough.
It's just not enough. This is not enough. I'm furious. And I'm ashamed, actually, on behalf of the world, that we cannot find it in ourselves to be more compassionate, to be more kind, to recognize what people here are going through. I can't believe that we're struggling so much to raise the funds necessary to support these families as they try to rebuild their lives. We cannot imagine what they have been through, but we have to be here for them. We have to do better.
But there are glimpses of resilience. At the youth center, young Haitians affected by violence are learning trades, skills that offer a path to self-reliance. From leatherwork to motorbike repair, the center gives hope to hundreds of adolescents who have lost access to education. Fletcher said initiatives like this prove that Haitians can rebuild their lives and their communities if they are given the right support.
We can find ways to push back against this crisis, against this sense of despair and deterioration. Because here, you know, these young people, they are cutting hair, they're doing manicures, they're learning to pedicure, they're making bracelets, they are learning to fix motorbikes, but ultimately they're rebuilding their lives. We can see that people can build back their communities as well, not just as individuals, but as a society, as Haiti. And ultimately, that's why we have to be here. That's why the world must be here, helping them to rebuild from all this despair, from the ruins of their lives.
The visit underscored both the urgent humanitarian needs and determination of Haitians to move forward despite insecurity, displacement, and despair. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Haiti.
In a more devastating news is that 89 civilians are dead after 2 brutal attacks in eastern Congo, triggering public fury and intensifying scrutiny of government security strategy. The Allied Democratic Forces and Islamic State-linked militia fast-tracked mourners at a funeral in Nyoto, then attacked again in Beni, with North Kivu reeling. Kinshasa is pleading tougher military action. Here is more.
89 civilians have been killed in 2 separate attacks in eastern Congo's North Kivu province. Authorities say 71 were massacred at a funeral in Nyoto on Monday, followed by another 18 killed in Beni on Tuesday. Both attacks were carried out by the Allied Democratic Forces, a rebel group affiliated with Islamic State.
It was 3 a.m. We were asleep when we heard the crackling of bullets. We left the house and fled to hide naked in the forest until morning. In the morning, we came back to see the state of the town, and we were really shocked to learn that several people had been killed.
Survivors from the Beni attack say they were ambushed late night and fled into nearby bushes. The group has intensified its assault in recent weeks, targeting civilians in remote villages and public gatherings.
We have a small army position here. We cannot really say whether they were there or not, because there are really not enough soldiers. They are in Manguripa, but they don't come here to Nyoto. Large-scale measures have been taken to ensure that the population does not find itself in tears in this desolation.
The Congolese army was deployed on Wednesday to respond to the attack and reinforce security in the region. The government says operations are underway to dismantle ADF hideouts and restore calm. but the scale of the violence has left communities shaken and demanding stronger protection. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Ibrahim Said.
It is yet another time for us to take a short break here. Just keep your feedback streaming at all our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi midai ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwanangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo muungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, hata nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga. Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you you can see between the lines. Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA. Sababu nasema hivi mheshimiwa, ikiwa Raila itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa wewe ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaa. Kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD, nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rahisi.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GBS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana, hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa, hakuna dawa kwa hospitali, my friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu.
GBS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Where you go, I'll go. Where you stay, I stay. Where you move, I move. I will follow you.
Welcome to our Bible story.
Are you ready? Great! Today we are going to learn about a story about a widow of Zarephath. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right. This do, and thou shalt live.
Before I conclude, I would like us to read and see what is the will of the Father towards each and every one of us.
Children, as you listen to that story, what have you been able to learn?
And remember, this is Kids Mind, the Bible story. And as usual, this is where we learn, we laugh, and we explore.
My name is Eleni Chama. I'm 8 years old. I'm a grade 4 student at Waridi Utawala School. When I grow up, I'd like to be a supermodel, a doctor, a dermatologist, so that I can advise little children to deal better with their skin problems.
When was the first time ulianza sasa when was the first time you got your first title? Do you prefer painting, drawing, or playing outside?
Drawing.
Drawing. Oh, you also like to draw?
Dear future Aurelie, I'm advising you that to do better on your exams, to care for people, to care about yourself, and do good things. And if you have an opportunity, do it. Any opportunity, even if it's from modeling, dancing, singing, anything.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to GBS News at 9. Now, Charles Kirk, a well-known conservative activist in the United States and staunch supporter of President Donald Trump, was shot dead at an event in Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Video footage of the incident circulating on social media showed Kirk speaking to a large outdoor crowd when a loud crack, a gunshot, rang out.
This is what Charlie Kirk did. Went to colleges and high schools to spread his often controversial version of conservative beliefs. Wednesday in Utah, when asked about the numbers of mass shootings, Kirk asked if it would include numbers from gang violence. And then, a single shot is heard. Utah's governor said it was clearly an act of political violence.
When someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened.
President Donald Trump took to social media to announce Kirk's death and later posted this video.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree.
Kirk was a huge supporter for President Trump, credited with helping swing many young white men in his direction and helping him win second elections. But Kirk was incredibly controversial.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life.
He often spent time on his podcast and social media degrading Islam, focusing on alleged crimes committed by African American against white people. Once saying that the U.S. is the least racist country in the history of the world. Views that took hold with millions of his supporters, and there are concerns his death could lead to more violence.
It's as bad as the 70s and 80s. And that's when we had a lot of political assassinations, some of the most famous ones, 60s, 70s. And we're getting to that point now where, I think in the 70s they were having 1,800 bombings a year. And that's the situation we could be reliving now.
Kirk was a big believer in the right to carry arms, once making this chilling remark.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
Oh my God. Now, the question with his death, that authorities are calling a political assassination, lead to more violence in the United States. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Paul M. Minor.
Now, shifting gears, a South Korean charter aircraft, a Korean Air Boeing 747-81, arrived in Atlanta to repatriate over 300 South Korean workers detained during a large immigration raid at Hyundai LG Electric Vehicle Battery Plant construction site in Georgia. The raid, which took place on September 4th, led to around 475 detainees, with more than 300 being South Korean nationals. The detained workers had visa issues, and the repatriation flight was initially planned to depart shortly after the aircraft arrival, but faced delay due to circumstances on U.S. side. The South Korean government has been actively negotiating their release and ensuring the workers' safety amid protests in South Korea over the harsh treatment and image showing workers restrained. The repatriation flight include workers from other Asian countries, as well as aim to de-escalate tension in the U.S.-South Korea bilateral relation. The new French Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, arrived at a Beauvau Hotel in Paris, the Interministerial Crisis Center, on September 9, 2025. On his first day, Lecornu met with key officials including Paris Police Prefect Laurent Nunez and outgoing Economy Minister Eric Lombard. Lecornu has pledged a profound break with the first as he faces the challenge of forming a government with enough parliament support amid ongoing political crisis and street protest across France. The protest, organized by grassroots movement called the Blanc Tout, Let's Block Everything, expressed opposition to President Macron's government and proposed budget cuts. Le Honhu will have to navigate the divided National Assembly and seek compromise to pass the crucial 2026 budget. With Parliament approval due by early October, the new Prime Minister task is set against a background of widespread public unrest and political instability in France. It is time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sport news. Let's get sporty. In a stunning result from La Paz, Bolivia defeated Brazil 1-0 on Thursday night. This marks Bolivia's first win over Brazil since 2004. Ramiro Vaca scored the lone goal in the 78th minute. Brazil struggled with the attitude and missed key chances. Levard defended deep and held firm under pressure. The upset shakes up the South American qualifiers.
Bolivia pulled off a rare and impressive win last night, beating Brazil 1-0 in a tense qualifier. The match was tight from the start, with Brazil holding more of the ball but rarely threatening. In the 78th minute, Ramiro Vaca broke the deadlock with a brilliant long-range effort. Brazil looked off a rhythm and clearly felt the effects of playing in a high altitude. The win ends a 21 draw for Bolivia against Brazil and brings new life to their qualifying hopes. Brazil, meanwhile, will need to regroup quickly ahead of their next feature. Khalif Karaoke, GBS TV.
Ecuador delivered a seismic shock on home soil, defeating a reigning World Cup champion Argentina 1-0 in front of a roaring crowd in Guayaquil with grit, discipline and perfectly timed late goal. Ecuador proved that they are not just contenders, they are conquerors. A night to remember and a result that shook the continent.
In a stunning result last night, Ecuador secured a 1-0 victory over reigning world champion Argentina. The match was fiercely contested, with both sides battling intensely for control. Despite Argentina's persistent pressure, Ecuador maintained a disciplined defense throughout. Later in the game, Ecuador capitalized in the key opportunity to score a decisive goal. The home crowd erupted as Ecuador held on to claim a significant and memorable win. This victory marked the major statement in the World Cup qualifying race and boosted Ecuador's ambition moving forward. Charity Minor, GBS.
And with that, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It's always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again next time, same channel. My name is Ibrahim Said, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Alan Kiama. We live after a proverb. A wise man says that when a cockroach falls into a soup, it doesn't spoil a soup, it spoils the appetite. Have a good night.
Everywhere, GBS.